Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing Bookmas video. Today we're going to be doing a Bookmas video. I don't know what day this is going up, as I'm going to be saying at the beginning of every one of my Bookmas videos. But hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a Bookmas video, and I'm going to be showing you some indie books that I adore, that I think you need to read. A lot of them, I'm not going to lie, you've probably heard of before, but this is just going to be my personal shout out to these people who made me smile and made me cry. And yeah, let's just dive in, shall we? We're going to see a theme throughout most of these, and they're going to be high fantasy. I apologise if high fantasy is not your thing, but these are some of my faves. First up, this is in no particular order, by the way. This is just some faves I need you to read. First up we have L.L. McRae. Used to be called L.L. McNeil. I think now all of her books have changed to L.L. McRae. She did have some old copies of her previous series, The World of Lunaria, under her old name, but I think everything's L.L. McRae now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren. But The Iron Crown, oh my god, this book, this behemoth of a chonker, it's such a quick read though. This is dragons. It's called Dragon Spirit series. Obviously it has dragons. The world building, the characters, every character has an individual personality. In the beginning of this we meet Fen. The only thing he knows is that his name is Fen, and he's woken up in a world, in a place that he just doesn't know. No idea how he got there, no idea what's happened. Immediately meets a dragon spirit. It's just so good. The magic system, the journey that these characters go on. This has my heart. Although my heart is spread over many books, this has part of my heart. The Last Ranger by J.D.L. Russell. You'll notice this. Is this familiar? This is his Biff Bonine. Look at the inside of that. Stunningness. I am going to be getting the rest of this series. This follows a character who has been raised with certain thoughts and feelings pushed on her, and she maybe comes to realise that how she's been raised isn't correct. She's very judgy at the beginning. She's been told that, you know, magic is bad and she needs to like stamp down the magic that's burning inside her. She can't use the magic that she's got, and it's just, I really need people to read this and read this with an open mind, because it's very easy. Not gonna lie, Lian did annoy me a lot at the beginning of the book. I wanted to slap her, but that's how J.D.L. Russell wants you to think about her, because she's stubborn, she's set in her ways, and the character growth in here is just so good. It is so good, and I don't know why I haven't picked up book 2 yet, but this is a recommendation from me to you. Another book that's amazing is The Crew by Sadia Samir. This is so funny. The main character of Arcade is just, I feel like if I was around him for too long I'd want to eat him off a cliff, but to read as a character he's great. So take from that what you will. I highly recommend it, and it's actually not that big of a read. Next up we have Zach Argyle with Voice of War. I've only read the first one in the series, but my god, this is so good. This follows Chris and his wife, and in a world where, like, the magic system in this is where people are born with the power to weave threads, either green or blue, and they're born with those colour eyes. Sorry, I've got some in my eye. So you're either born with green, blue or brown eyes, but something happens and he has to go on and run with his family. I need to read the rest of this series, but it's great if you want. Again, it's a very short read for a high fantasy, but it is part of a series, so it doesn't need to be chunky. I highly recommend that you get your hands on this. I got the beautiful editions that was sold by the Broken Binder that was signed by Zach, and I'm so glad that I did. Next up we have Thiago of Dallas, A Touch of Light. So in this one we follow 3 POVs We've got a prince of a domain, a rogue warrior, and a hunter. And we follow each of like their stories throughout. So the tagline on the back of this, I'm just going to read it to you. It says, how far would you go to resurrect someone you love? How long could you run from your past? Would you change who you are to show you belong? So that is like the tagline for each POV. So if that doesn't encourage you to read it, what will? Seriously. Would I do a recommendations video for indie books without showing you this one? Absolutely not. Are you going to get tired of me showing you this? Probably, but I don't care. You need to read it. Boy and his dragon, cute, YA, coming of age. The dragon is blind. Ash is blind. Ash needs to be protected at all times, and so does Holt. They go through a lot together in this first book. They go through even more in the second book. And Jesus Christ, on a bicycle, does your heartstrings get tugged at? But it's just so well written, so well narrated. The world building, the characters, it makes you feel. Michael has a great way of making you feel things. And it's a long book, but it doesn't feel like a long book. It feels like everything goes so fast, but not too fast. It's very gripping, and you don't want to put it down once you pick it up. I don't know why this book isn't talked about more. I'm really shocked at, like, people do talk about this book, but I don't know why it's not talked about more. This is in my top books that I've ever read. So, that says something. So next up we have Cruel God by Two Skies. This is Quen, this is Kale, the great. So, there's a place called Chime, where there's like a melting pot of all these different types of creatures. And they all have different abilities, but in a system, they say that Chime is a place where anyone can live, and there's no sort of hierarchy, but there is, and everyone knows there is. It's kind of like an unspoken thing that there is, but there's gold at the top, and then there's everyone else underneath them, and even that the different types of characters that we meet, everyone knows like who is above who. It's just not written, and I think when I read this, I was like, oh my god, that is our society today. But it has a lot of conversations that you can pick up from here. Maybe I read too much into it, or maybe that was the point of the book. But I would highly recommend this book. It's very, like, it's not like an epic quest book. It's all set in Chime and around these domains. But there's gods, and I love how the gods are portrayed in this. This is called the Cruel God series for a reason. And I know that in other, like Greek mythology and stuff, gods aren't always portrayed as good people, but these are just a whole other level. I'm not going to do an indie recommendations video without recommending Ryan Cahill. I've picked up the smallest, lightest book of the books I've got, because they get thicker as they get up further on, and, you know, my arms are weak. So, this series, we are now on like the third novella in this series, and I still need to read A War and Ruin and The Ice, but this is an epic, high fantasy, dragons, war. It will rip your heart out, but the characters in this, you will fall in love with so many characters. Kaelin and Valeris, they're the main ones, but even the side characters have an impact on you. And I don't want to give too much away about the series, because this is a long series and I really want you to pick it up. But if you like dragons, you like epic battles, you like great character development and world building, and just a group of like a found family vibe as well, then this series is for you. Now we're almost at the bottom of the list, and once again I'm recommending this. We Break Immortals by Thomas Howard Riley. This is a chunker at about 800 pages, 700 pages, 750 pages. So the tagline for this is, well, the thing that caught my attention in this is: a drug addict who hunts sorcerers, the most renowned swordsman no one has ever heard of, and a thieving, magic-wielding woman hell-bent on revenge collide during a last-ditch effort to stop an insane, superhuman serial killer from making himself a god. So these characters are all flawed. There's no like goody two shoes hero of the group. They've all got issues, and they need to work through those issues in order to function in society and to take down this thing that wants to make itself a god. And I was just absolutely in awe of everything that happened in this. The drug addict knows how to detect magic, and the way that he detects magic is a very specific, technical way of detecting it, and it sort of shows you how he does it as he does it, and he talks through, he explains it to someone, and just learning about how he uses his skills, and the fact that he's very, very much a drug addict, but he's still a functional being, like, he's like a functional addict. It's not something I've ever read before, but it really does show that you can still do good without being, like, perfect. This really does make you root for these people, even though you know they're not perfect, you know they're flawed. So the last book that I'm going to be recommending from books that I really enjoyed is Cold from the North by D.W. Ross. A series I need to finish. This is a trend, but this follows Ogulf, who lives in a little village, and he finds out that there's invaders coming to the village, and he tries to convince the people of his village to follow him, and basically to safety. And this is about him and his journey with some other people to get to safety and find someone who can help them. But a lot happens on the way, obviously, that I don't want to give away. There's found family in this, there's bits of magic, there's some characters that you just want to accidentally trip up and let them just fall to their death. But, you know, it is what it is. That's what happens in books. Some characters you love, some characters you want to yeet. There were high fantasy ones. There are a couple of recommendations for indie, sort of like low-key cozy fantasy. Is it cozy fantasy? I'm going to call it cozy fantasy that I can give you. First one is Sense and Sensibility. It's Fantasy Regency Dragons. This is just, there are, like I said before, with, like I've mentioned before, like Legends and Lattes and that kind of cozy fantasy, there are still stakes involved, but it's not crazy, life-threatening, epic questing battles. It's very quiet, and there's a bit of a romance. There's just stumbles in the road along the way, and they just have to figure things out. There's found family, there's amazing characters in this. There is also a second book out, I don't know if it's a sequel, but it's Claws and something, and I keep saying that I'm going to find the title and remember it, but I don't. If you're not into high epic questing fantasies, this is the one for you. This one and the Quenby Olsen books are great. Quenby Olsen also has a series of novellas that are based on Jane Austen novels, I think, or like fantasy retellings. I think that's what they are. I've read Manticore Park recently. Absolutely loved it. There's one called Centaur and Sensibility that I really want to read, and yeah, so I'll be looking out for more of those. But these two are my recommendations for the ones if you want more of like a cozy Regency fantasy vibe rather than high epic questing fantasy with like a really long thick book. So yeah, that's my last recommendation. But thank you very much for joining. If you do like me and you want to see more of me, please like, comment, subscribe and all that good stuff. And if you're here and you let me know you're here but you don't have anything to say, black heart always very much appreciated. And until next time, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I will see you all very soon.